And what's the reality of what people actually experience as compared to what they fear?
Well, fears often exist in the mind, and we often perceive things being much worse than what they are. So even in not having money, not being able to buy food, there was a freedom at one level. There was a shattering of my identity and what I had held myself up to be.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden there was this, I started experiencing miracles. I got offered a place for 2 months to live. I got offered a basket of groceries. Now, keep in mind, I had never taken charity from anyone or borrowed money from anyone for my whole corporate life, other than when my mum and dad helped me with my education. So it was a deep, deep humbling, a deep shattering of pride and ego to find myself in that situation. Especially in the context of I was the successful guy who was loaning people and it was all that. And spiritual lessons are not always the easiest ones to receive because they hurt your ego. Ego gets shattered, you get humbled. But once you get humbled, you're not afraid anymore of threats to your ego, which is what you're describing at this call of, someone might not perceive me well, or I might be judged, or I might judge myself because someone else judged. You just don't care anymore. You
Mm-hmm.
can be messy, you can be dirty, you still show up in ways to optimize how you perceive perhaps, but you've got a greater strength in your own conviction to who you are, what you stand for, because you're living in accordance with truth and not living for validation, acceptance, approval from someone else, because that all got taken away anyway.
And you described earlier how important relationships are. Aren't those moments when we see and experience just how important relationships are? That's when people really do show up.
Well, that was part of it, and that was another lesson. So I didn't see that straight away, to be honest. It took
Okay.
me breaking my ribs to the point that I couldn't use the bathroom, change myself, make myself food, go shopping, walk on uneven ground. Anyone who's broken ribs, and I did a good job of it.
Wow.
And in the meanwhile, I saw someone else. He had a WhatsApp group. He just cut his leg. He'd organized a WhatsApp group, people doing his washing. They were bringing around food, doing his shopping, creating meals for me. And here was me saying I didn't need anyone. When I was, and in Australia, there's a whole thing around masculinity where like, should be right, mate. Your arms hanging off, you'd be right. Bit of a flesh wound,
Just a
that kind
Monty Python flesh wound, just a mere flesh wound.
of that kind of mentality. And I'm like, that sucked. I did not play that right. And so I learned, no, I need people. I just don't need to give my power to people.
So that's the difference between asking for help and seeking external
You
validation.
got it. Got it. So asking for help doesn't mean anything about my worthiness, my deservedness, or anything. I need help. That's it. Okay, it's okay to need help. That's fine. And it doesn't make me less. But I'm not seeking help to compensate for some inadequacy within myself. I just need help. So I was getting all these spiritual lessons. And before in my project, I was trying to please people or not disappoint people. This is a big one. I was trying not to disappoint people because I'd grown up in a family where you did well. If I got A pluses and A's, and if I got a B, then that was a problem. And I received it, even though it wasn't intended that way, as a conditional love. And so I spent a lot of time trying to avoid disappointment by doing enough to make sure that I would be perceived in a certain way that would have love, affection, and approval. So the crux of it is I started to really, anyone who's done NLP or any sort of past life regressions, or even you start to realize that your psyche gets formed by life events, typically traumatic events, and sometimes not even intended as a traumatic event. It's just happens, and you read it in a certain way from less than full information, and you get traumatized by it.
Tell everyone what NLP is.
Neuro-linguistic programming. It's part of one of my modalities of healing, but yeah.
That idea of being a pleaser and doing things for the purpose of seeking praise and seeking validation. I was a junior in high school, and the first quarter of grades came out, and I had an 88 in math, and the teacher comment was absence affects achievement. I was late. Math was my first class of the day, and I was getting a ride to school with my cousin who lived next door to me every day, and we were 10 minutes late to school every day. My cousin was habitually late. So right after those grades came out, my dad I'm walking down the hall and my friends are saying, Claudia, your dad's here. Your dad is talking to Mrs. Williams. Her name was the math teacher. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is my dad doing here? And he showed up to find out what did absence affects achievement mean, and why, because I was a straight A student, why was I getting below a 90 in a class?